Echo 5, do you copy? Echo 5.
Echo 2, good morning. Nice of you to drop by.
Feeling alright, sir? Thought we lost you.
Right now, I feel like I can take on this whole podcast myself.
I know what you mean. Ready to send that transmission to Echo Base?
Yes, sir. R10, patch through.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. Today we are joined by Fluffy and Sam, so we got a trio going here. We will be covering Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 4. But before we get into it, I know I didn't prepare you guys for this, but did you guys see the trailer for Outlaws? It's a game that's coming out on August.
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So for anybody that's a gamer, there is a new game that is coming out. It is called Star Wars Outlaws, and it looks like it's going to be taking place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Because in the trailer, we did see Han Solo and Carbonite at Jabba's palace. So it could be very close to Return of the Jedi. So I'm actually pretty excited to kind of see what take they're doing on this. But it's supposed to be like an open world, be able to fly around, do some cool stuff.
Sounds really interesting.
I know I'm selling it here, but I know a lot of fans are complaining because I don't get it. It's like the main character is female, but I don't see it why people are having issues with it. They're saying that she's ugly, and it's like it's just a video game character, guys. Come on.
I don't think we have to get into that. I think it's just whenever there is a female, wherever, in which context, there's just going to be someone saying something bad about it.
That is true. The internet has really allowed people to be very overly critical on a lot of things. So, but I mean, I saw the trailer. I think it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's supposed to come on August. So anybody that's interested, look at the trailer because it's out. I think it looks phenomenal. And we're going to see Kira, apparently, from Solo. So she's still alive while Han Solo's in Carbonite.
That does look like a good part of the game.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of Crimson Dawn. But nevertheless, let us get into the episode. So this one is a kind of another two-part episode because you got one thing going on and then you got something going on over here. And I really like that at the beginning we got to see all of them doing all the training because something we don't really get to see too much.
Yeah, we get a very good look into how the Children of the Watch are training, and basically from what Bo-Katan says about her past and how about her training, we basically see how a Mandalorian warrior grows up and the foundlings and how they're trained. So I think it's a very good. It's not a little segment or a basically training montage or something like that, but we basically get a very good look into the culture and how they actually train their members in the background.
I found it a bit slow. Sorry to be the downer on this episode. You guys are going to hate me for this. Now, it was good to see it, but at the same time, did we really need to see it?
I mean, I've said this on previous episodes. Like when I was first watching this season, even when you got to this episode, because this is like the 4th episode, there's 4 more episodes left. I had no idea where they're going with this season. It just seemed like step by step they're doing like something different. Like each story, like every episode is a different story. And I know in the final bit of it, they're trying to build up Bo-Katan, but even at this point, we don't really see too much of. Okay, they're building up Bo-Katan, but for what?
Yeah, I think this is it's another one of those episodes where we are seeing Bo-Katan and her personal development, because we know that she wanted to have nothing to do with the Children of the Watch, and she thought they were all basically cuckoo, and now she is actually recognizing their customs and acting like one of them. And we are seeing at the very end of the episode where she's actually being treated as the leader of the war party and so on. So I think this is another episode where we see not our Mando, but Bo-Katan as the Mandalorian. I think this is the whole reason. I think this is what we're building up to.
Changing from Din Djarin to Bo-Katan, the new Mandalorian.
Yeah. That is my theory, at least.
That's a good take on it.
I've got to agree with that. This whole season so far does feel very much like, yes, we've got the Mandalorian, we've got Din, but the focus has shifted now. And I know that we are getting the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, but right now it doesn't seem to have this episode, as well as the last one and most of the ones from this season, doesn't have a coherent path. It's almost like we need to make another season of this before we move on. What are we going to do? And it kind of felt like this whole season was more filler than actual episodes.
Yeah, so far. I mean, I think it's gonna, as far as I remember, it's gonna change a little bit towards the end of the season. But we have also with Book of Boba Fett, we have had a complete different series that is focused on a different part of the Mandalorian culture and a different Mandalorian. And then the show is called The Mandalorian. It's not the Din Djarin show. It's not the Grogu show. So we are focusing on different Mandalorian every season. I think at least that is what I'm getting from all of
And
this.
this season was originally supposed to be just like the finale of the series. And so because they got rid of Rangers of the New Republic, they kind of changed it up a little bit. And so we are getting a Mandalorian season 4 as well as a movie. So I'm wondering if they went into this thinking that they were going to be closing this, but then last minute they decided, oh yeah, there's going to be more. We're not going to actually cancel the show. Let's do more seasons of it. And so there was, okay, what can we do to throw in some material? And this is what we got. Because I know I talked with Sam last week on the whole episode with the amnesty for the Imperials and Dr. Pershing, because that one really had nothing to do with the whole season, but they just threw it in there because it was a part of another story. And so I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to build a new character, because I know Cara Dune was supposed to be a huge part of The Mandalorian until Gina Carano got kicked out unfairly. And I'm actually liking that Bo-Katan is kind of filling that role, because Bo-Katan is a stronger character and more familiar to a lot of old fans.
Definitely. And we know Bo-Katan's character so much better than we knew Cara Dune. We've had an emotional connection to her since the Clone Wars and the Rebels, so I think it's a better move. Oh, of course, it is such a shame that it had to happen in this way, but I think it's a much better move to focus on Bo-Katan and her character and her evolution and her story in the universe than any other option, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm glad that we've got more, not backstory, but more continuation of Bo-Katan's character. Like you say, we've seen her in Clone Wars, we've seen her in Rebels. So to have that next step in her character is good, because like you said, it's someone that we've had around for a while now, and instead of Cara, we've got Bo-Katan. I do think that how she's been included in this season and sort of in episodes like this one was a bit too forced. if you'll excuse the pun on what they're trying to teach Grogu to do as well. But I'm always happy to have her in episodes, but I think kind of maybe over relying on her at times is what they seem to be doing, and that's not how it should be. She's strong enough to deal with things basically by herself, which we've seen before. So to have this almost like you need Mando with her so she's all safe. It's like that's not how the character should be. And then when we see that she's she's in this one and she's like, yeah, that's not how we want to go forward. It's like, that's great, but at the same time, are you leading into a spin-off show, or are you leading into you taking over the Mandalorian show as a whole?
To be fair, from my point of view, when I watched the entire season and when I saw the finale before all of the other things went down, I thought the story wrapped up. I think they also filmed it that way, that it was so neat. It was so tidy. It was everything wrapped perfectly in a bow. And I don't know what they're going to do afterwards. Of course, we know that there's a Favreau movie coming with Mandalorian and Grogu. But I don't even know what they want to actually tell us as a story, because the season 3 finale of The Mandalorian, I think, was perfectly fine. Okay, of course, we want to see if Grogu becomes actually a Jedi Master, because we don't have him in anywhere else. We have no idea what's going to happen to him. But yeah, that's why I don't know if it was forced, but of course I'm such a fangirl. Like Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, I go crazy. There's nothing I can say about that. I'm very partial to both of those characters. Like I screamed when Bo-Katan came out in live action. I was crying, and then of course that single episode took me to Ahsoka's live action first show. It was insane as for an experience for me, especially as a female. It is so very important. Like everyone I've loved on the films and the shows so far were male, and like seeing these beautiful strong female characters on TV, on the films, it was beautiful, but again, very partial. But yeah, this is like, you're right. What is happening? There is a Bo-Katan focus, but where is it going? What are we gonna see? But of course, we have to think about it like this. She is the sister of the Duchess of Mandalore. So I guess we are going to see Mandalore becoming a habitable planet and her at the helm, I guess. But it is a long way to go. And that I don't know if there is enough material for us to actually reliably like and follow. Yeah, you're right about that. Like there is something there, but maybe it's too early to start just pushing it in.
Yeah, because originally I thought that they were trying to build Mandalorian or Din Djarin basically to be the leader of Mandalore because he had the Darksaber. And then I remember I jumped in thinking, okay, so now we're seeing Bo-Katan in the first couple episodes. That I thought they were going to lead Mandalore together. Like he'd had the Darksaber, she's the natural born leader, and they just all rally behind the both of them. But they're kind of working a little bit more, like so she's kind of uniting the two parties, and we kind of see that here because she is from a different way, and then we have her being accepted into their creed, and so it's kind of building up something a little bit more. Like we're jumping a little bit ahead because we know what's going to happen the rest of the season, but times yes, is she forced, but most of the time I'm going to say no because I think she fits so well with with Din Djarin that I don't think I ever thought of her character as a forced character.
From my point of view, this episode was a perfect intro to her becoming the leader that she needs to be. This was in a very small scale, but she was still the respected war party leader, and she showed the way. And she also learned how to respect the differences between the Mandalorian that she is and the Children of the Watch and different sects that might come up. So I think in that sense, this episode was a very good show, especially in the nuances between the characters and the person that she needs to be, because Mandalore is, I mean, because of all of the war culture and all of the strong personalities that we have seen in the Mandalorians, I think this was a great way, because she also showed the diplomacy skills that she should have learned much earlier from Satine that she pushed against. So yeah, I think it was a great episode in the terms of Bo-Katan's personal development, but everything else, I mean, to be fair, we're gonna talk about the Grogu Order 66 flashbacks as well, but I think in the personal development of Bo-Katan, I think it was a really, really important episode.
Yeah, because this episode was more about her. So last episode it was about her bathing in the water and coming back and being accepted as part of the creed. While everybody accepted her into it, nobody really knows her. So I think this episode was really key to her character being trusted by them, because we have Paz Vizsla's kid being kidnapped by some pterodactyl-like creature, and she's like, okay, well, I'll fly my ship. I've used to train on mountains very similar to this, so this is how we're going to tackle this. And Mando's like, I'll go. And then, of course, Paz goes because it's his kid. But I think this was very important because it shows that she's like, she may disagree with like their creed, but she still treats them like they're her own people, because like, okay, your kid's gone. All right, let's go. There's no hesitation. We're going to do this. And so I think it was very key for her to be showing a leadership role to these people, because it gives them kind of builds their trust. It's like, okay, yeah, she's going to help us.
Yeah, and because I mean, Bo-Katan has lost so much already. Her home planet was kind of more or less destroyed. So for her to take on this leadership role more prominently in this episode, like as we've seen at the beginning, she does jump in her ship to then find the nest. She doesn't go and risk her life to save the kid by herself. She makes a plan, and that side of the character development is the side that I really did enjoy. The episode as a whole is just something that I think we could have done without parts of it, and part of that is the Order 66 flashback.
Yeah, that's why I said this episode seemed like it was kind of like jumping on two different stories, because we have Grogu doing his training. So he's doing his training, and I just thought it was funny because that whole sequence was very interesting, because Grogu's like, okay, you want me to train? All right, whatever. But by doing this training, he's starting to become an apprentice to Din Djarin. And so, like you said, like we get a little bit of a flashback because he hears pounding of metal. And I really did enjoy the Order 66 scene, but I do agree it was kind of out of place in a way.
We have to always think about the episode names, I think, because in Mandalorian, the episode names are very, very important. And this episode is called The Foundling. So we are talking about both Paz Vizsla's kid, Ragnar Vizsla, and Grogu as the foundling. So I think that's why we have to also see the context and the contrast between the characters. Like, what we are seeing Ragnar Vizsla go through as his childhood, his experiences, and the contrast to what Grogu is going through. Because even though he is 50 something years old, we should not forget that in his age, that's still childhood. And yeah, we should always remember, even though he looks like he is not, I mean, he looks like a baby, but he has 50 something years of life experience behind him, which counts as childhood for his species. And I think also what we saw at in the show with Order 66 and everything, it's a whole different preparation for something else. Also for some type of redemption for the actors and actresses who play the characters that were not liked a lot, which is something that we see very often in the Mandalorian show with what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are trying to do. People and characters who were hated that are brought in front of us in a different light, in a different context, so that we make better connections to them moving forward. That's what I also think. So even though as a fan, I want to take just the story and just the characters and everything within the universe into account, we should always think about the outside, the meta, what is happening as well.
Yeah. To me, as you know, as you guys have already said, it felt like a sort of two-part episode, and I would have actually liked it if it was two dedicated episodes. So you had the taking and retrieval of Ragnar as one episode as a whole, because I think that there was more story to that than we got to see. And then we could have had a backstory flashback episode with Grogu. But then we've already had a lot of Order 66 flashbacks or it happening, and it kind of felt like, do we need another bit of it right now? When we've already had it in Bad Batch, we've had it at the end of the Clone Wars, we've had it in Obi-Wan. So it just felt like, yeah, we're going to have it again, but that could have been an aspect that, or a plot that could have been used in the movie, which, obviously no one knows what's happening in the movie, but that would have fit, or could have fit better if it is about Grogu and his, it could have been his backstory in the movie. Kind of like when you see Batman, that always starts off with the origin story of Batman. So having Grogu's origin at the beginning of the movie, i.e., how he got to where he is, could have been better, and we could have got a full episode of Mandalorians saving the next generation of Mandalorians, including Grogu there to help. But I think the inclusion of Order 66 was just that step too far. To counter that, though, having Ahmed Best back in it, I don't get why they hated his, or why he got so much hate. He's not Jar Jar. He's an actor playing a part using a ropey script at the best of times. He can only be as good as the script is. And the hate that he got was so unjustified. So to see him back kicking ass, putting it bluntly, was brilliant.
I will give you the exact same answer as I gave you with regards to Bo-Katan and Cara Dune. I don't think we need to discuss this. There is unfortunately a blatant racial issue behind that with his character as well. It's not just him, it has nothing to do with him. He's a brilliant actor. It's just, people sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time are horrible. And it's the exact same thing with Cara Dune, with Bo-Katan, with Ahsoka. It's like, in Mandalorian season 2 finale episode, right? there's this beautiful female characters coming together and people going like crazy. Oh, this is turning into a blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It is
Yeah.
the same
I actually
thing.
thought that was actually really well done because I look at that part like from Avengers. I thought that was forced with all
That
the.
was, yeah. It was like, you're
But-
fighting alone. You are not alone.
And when they did it in Mandalorian season 2, I did not feel it felt forced at all. I loved it. It was great.
It flowed. It flowed.
It flowed. And I think that's all comes down to script writing. And unfortunately, Star Wars fans are a little bit more crazy when it comes to characters. Like, I'm not a huge Rey fan, but I'm not going to sit here and attack Daisy Ridley for that.
Exactly.
Like a lot of fans did. Same with Rose Tico. Both of them had to delete their Instagram accounts. And I was like, I've seen them at the conventions. I've seen them on the panels. They're great people. Unfortunately, get bad scripts. So their acting was good, but the dialogue was terrible. So am I going to attack the actress? No. But a lot of fans do. And that's how it was with the Ahmed Best. Like I saw his story on how he was brought down so bad because of Jar Jar, and his struggle with it was unfair. Even Jake Lloyd got a lot of hate for little Anakin.
Yeah.
Exactly. That guy's entire existence, his entire life had to change because of this one role. Okay, we are huge fans of Star Wars. We three are basically in the 1% of hardcore Star Wars fans, but we are still capable as human beings of empathy, and this was just a kid who was giving an enormous opportunity and a script, and people bullied this kid for God knows what, and that is insane to me. That is really, really insane to me. And
yeah, he was an adorable little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a few years older than me, I guess, because I watched the movie Phantom Menace as a 6-year-old kid.
Okay.
But yeah, like we were the same age, more or less. I can't not even comprehend the things that he had to go through and people hating him for a character that they have bonded with 30 years ago. And that is just crazy.
Yeah, to make fun of somebody being a kid on screen. Like, come on, guys. He did a good job for the character.
Definitely.
Even Hayden Christensen got a lot of hate for Anakin, but it's kind of turned around to people love Hayden now, which I'm super happy for. But again, it was cheesy dialogue. And if you look more into it, George Lucas was very specific on how he wanted the actors to act, and so it was very dry.
Yeah,
there was really no room for like any exploration or different tones or anything. It had to be, from what I understand, George Lucas's way.
I mean, I am very happy that Natalie Portman did not suffer a lot, because she went and had an amazing career with her movies and everything. But Hayden Christensen got so many bad reviews. He got bullied that it actually affected his entire personality and life as an adult. And he actually stopped making movies after, I think, The Jumper, which is...
No, he did a couple other ones.
I love The Jumper, by the way. I'm just saying.
Me too.
Jumper is so good. And
I like that movie so much. I read the book.
Wow.
The movie was crazy. Now, like some of the stuff that they had in the book, I'm glad they didn't put on screen because it would have been very questionable. But it was a really good movie. But I mean, it's these characters, like, and that's why I'm so glad Ahmed Best got this role to be Grogu's savior, because a lot of people were going, okay, it's what's his face from Force Unleashed, the one of the protectors of the temple that he fights, or Ram Koda, or someone else.
Yeah, I mean, the
Ahmed Best
placement...
kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, the placement of the flashback was a bit weird to me as well, but I really enjoyed actually having flashbacks of the Order 66 from a very different point of view. This time we actually saw, because we know from everything on the internet and of course the movie and the TV shows how the Order 66 went from the point of view of the Jedi, of Anakin, of these oh my god, clone troopers. I was just gonna call them stormtroopers immediately.
I would like to see
But
more from
seeing it,
Anakin's perspective.
definitely, for sure. But seeing it also from the point of view of a youngling, I think it did not subtract anything from the experience for me. I found the placement a bit weird as well. It could have been somewhere else, could have been in the movie, like Sam said, but I still enjoy the experience of it from a different point of view.
And just to counter Sam, you can never have too much Order 66. Let's be real. We love seeing clones kill Jedi.
Yes.
And
I
Sam,
mean-
I know the dark side in you. We've done podcasts. You want everybody to die, so more killing
have-
is
I know. It's
your thing.
I mean, yeah, seeing Order 66, it is good, but I think from a certain point of view, to get that quote in there because I've really wanted to say it for so long now.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Yeah, exactly. But we've had so much snippets of Order 66 in such a short span of time that's why I'm saying it. If it was in a separate
Oversaturating.
Yes, yeah. So if it was in the movie, that's enough time that's passed since we've last seen it, and we could have more. I think it's because it kind of cut the story, the A story, dead. Because then we had the B story, which was a whole separate thing. So as much as I don't want to see more Order 66, that's not technically true. I'd love to see more because I do love it when the good guys lose and lose epically, as we know from the fact that I keep wanting characters to die. But I think I think that having such an important A story, that's just stopped partway through to then go on to this B story, it just didn't work for me as an episode. And based on how bad the last episode was, again, it was more like I was looking at this more objectively as well. We've got in the span of 2 episodes 3 stories that aren't really connected while trying to be connected, and that's where I had the issue with it.
That's totally fair. Because it just like the last episode, like we had Mando and Bo doing their thing, and then all of a sudden it just jumps to a whole another story that basically takes up the whole episode, and then jumps back for a few minutes, on back to the first story, and that's kind of how this one was too. And yes, it was titled The Foundling, but it seemed like they're just trying to do too much, because this was a very short episode too. So they're trying to do too much with too little time.
That is one of the problems that I have with this episode. The first half of the season is really they don't know what they're doing. That is a big problem. Their episode lengths are all over the place. They are jumping between characters, jumping between things. So in overall, when I look at season 3, okay, it goes really well. At the end, it tidies up really well. But in the beginning, they are really fumbling. They do not know where they want to go to. I have to disagree with everything Sam said about Order 66. But that is a conversation we can have it on another day.
No, let's go. Beef it out.
Great.
Let's
Come on,
go.
come on.
No, I mean, I could have an entire Order 66 movie. I think because it's just, I mean, I think Order 66 is the reveal after Luke, I am your father. Like, when you think about cinematic history, Luke, I am your father, number one, execute Order 66 would be number two. That's why I want to have I want to have years building up to it. I want to have different shows. I want to have movies. I want to have documentaries, everything. This is the
And here
master
we
plan.
have, here we
The
have
Fluffy.
a young
Fluffy, I think that's an idea that needs to be done. A
yeah.
documentary. And you have some just look at it's like a mockumentary. It's like you have like a news reporter interviewing Darth Vader. Okay, so going into Order 66, when you went into the temple, what was their like? Just like interview everybody, the clones, I think that'd be such a funny mockumentary.
Yeah, clone
I
troopers staring at the camera like this.
I think it's a Sir David Attenborough documentary. I think he should narrate it. Does anybody have his contact?
All right,
details?
Disney, if you're listening, this is it.
We have a great idea.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on this.
No, I mean, you know, you are right. You know, Order 66, the reveal of it is huge. The story is huge. There is so much more to tell on it. I just think, like I said, you know, we've had so much in such a short span of time. It was just oversaturated. Would I love to see more? Yes, because I love it when Jedi get killed. They're evil. All right, let's just say the Jedi are evil. Anakin was right.
He was.
Okay, people will not be seeing my face just for everyone to see. I am like, my jaw is dropped. I cannot handle this. What?
The Jedi are
I
evil.
thought we were the good guys. Come on. Okay, I know.
Hey, you've seen Clone Wars. You've seen Yoda's vision. The Jedi have strayed away from everything that they stood for. And I'm not going to necessarily say they were evil, but I'm going to say that they were no longer Jedi.
Yeah. And
I don't know. I hate this no attachment, blah, blah. Love is in the root of everything that is good for me. So that is okay. I understand that part, but Jedi evil, I think that's a bit of a stretch.
No, Anakin was by far the best Jedi. You know, he could have been more powerful than Yoda. Did they want to make him a master? No, because they were scared of him.
You mean Skywalker the children killer?
He was following orders.
No.
A good soldier
If Mace Windu had made him a master, he would not have been the leader of Order 66.
Yeah.
Just saying.
My mind is blown.
Because all Anakin ever wanted was to be respected by the council, and he never got that respect. He was the person that gave him the respect.
Good.
He didn't kill all of them. Some of them became Inquisitors.
Got away.
That is true.
What is happening? Are you trying to justify killing children to me?
No, not at all. I am not an Anakin apologist. I know a lot of people. I know that's a big thing right now, the Anakin apologist.
Yeah.
This is too much.
Hey, they were just as evil as the adults. I'm kidding. All right.
It was Hothspot.
But
it was great seeing you all people. I'm out.
I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, like, Anakin would not have gone down the path that he did if they granted him the rank of master, because it's all he ever really wanted. And he probably would have gone with Mace too, and they probably would have succeeded in taking Palpatine to justice.
He was
or Qui-Gon trained him. I think Qui-Gon was probably the best Jedi that the Order ever saw until the Order fell, and then
Forevermore,
Obi-Wan and Yoda kind of went on their journey.
yeah, definitely. I mean, duel of the fates. We talked about this before. If Anakin was raised by Qui-Gon, who would have loved him like a father, things would have been completely different. I will forever mourn Qui-Gon. I said
Yeah.
this a million times. Favorite Jedi. Ahsoka is just a whole other level of being that I love. But
Yeah, she's not
Qui-Gon is
Jedi anymore, though.
definitely, yeah, that's a good point of view. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Because I love
Qui-Gon is
Ahsoka,
my
too.
favorite Jedi. Ahsoka is just my soulmate.
Definitely there. And Kanan became such a good Jedi, too. I have to throw him on my list as well for that reason.
Yeah.
And Ahmed Best, like, he did a really good job in the, what was it, like a 5-minute scene that he got?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, all his moves that he did were just so fluid. Like, granted, this part was kind of random. However, I did enjoy seeing it. Like, I thought it was really fun because I want to know what happens to his character. Because maybe that's something they'll focus on in the movie, because we know he gets away with Grogu, but we don't know what happens after that.
Exactly. We still have no idea what happens between Grogu being saved from the temple and ending up with the Mandalorian. We have zero clue. So I'm hoping somehow the movie answers some of those questions, because I don't think an entire TV show on the season 4 could be a flashback. But I am looking forward to getting those questions answered.
I think I agree with Sam on this. Like, when they do the movie, I think that would be a great opportunity for them to start off with another flashback
Yeah.
to lead into Grogu's. Like, that flashbacks and origin stories are generally a really good start to a film, just because you don't have to go into too much detail. It's like, okay, flashback, 30 seconds or 2 minutes of this. We get all the information we need to know. Now jump to the character. Okay, now we know where the show is going.
It is theoretically like that, but the problem is when movies start like that, the general masses do not like the movies. So
Depends
that
on the movie.
movie is going to be bashed.
I was gonna say, give me examples.
Excuse me?
I'm trying to think of movies that start off with flashbacks, but you might be
Sir.
right, because if I can't remember a movie that starts off with a flashback other than Batman or superhero movies, then
Yeah, like the entire
Batman,
Marvel Cinematic Universe is one big flashback.
Lord of the Rings.
basically.
Lord. Each one of the Lord of the Rings starts off as a flashback.
Exactly, especially episode 3. Like
And they're all phenomenal movies. I remember those movies got so many nominations and won so many awards.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a bad example for.
All right,
Fluffy.
today we're turning into a Lord of the Rings channel.
Hey, I'm always down for a good Lord of the Rings chat. But we definitely flew off topic. But I mean, that's okay, as long as you guys are having fun. But
I'm having way too much fun. I'm sorry. All right, back.
why are you apologizing for having fun? How dare you? How dare you have fun?
All right. Let me take a look at my notes. What I wrote, first of all, is Bo and Din Djarin becoming mom and dad in the training episode. In the training part. It was so cute.
I saw that too, because she's like, he's too young. Oh no, he needs to do this in order to be an apprentice, and everybody's like, he's too young, he's too small. He's like, I didn't ask you to tell me that. It's like, I don't care what you think. I didn't ask for your opinion. He's doing this. And
exactly.
it was cool to see I mean, it's cool, but it's kind of a little cheesy to see Grogu do all those flips around the kid. And it's just funny that Grogu was holding back in the beginning because he got shot twice, and then he just kind of looks up at Mando. It's like, okay, well, what do I do? It's like, if I use the Force or anything like that, this kid can't handle it. Kid's sitting there making fun of me, saying, what is it? One does not speak unless one knows. And then he's like, well, I know, but the kid doesn't. Or Grogu doesn't. And so it was cool seeing Mando go, okay, Grogu, I know what you can do. Don't hold back, just do it. And then he
That's the
sits there
thing.
and gets the.
I did not think it was cheesy at all. I thought it showed a lot of growth and empathy because he
I didn't
knew
know.
he could have taken that kid. He
No, I
knew
didn't think
that.
that was cheesy. Him jumping, I thought was kind of a little interesting.
Yeah.
It looked awkward, but I mean, he's so small.
What I thought looked awkward was him running behind the armor because the puppet looks like very weird, and that's like
I think that's just what it is. It's the
it
puppet.
is.
Like the puppet moving just looks like they're doing the best they can with it. Like it's cool, but
Yeah.
every time Grogu moves, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Looks unnatural.
The jumping around I got used to a little bit because, I mean, we have to see him move somehow. But
And
yeah,
that is
the
true.
jumping, like running behind the armor was, I think, a bit too much. I think he should have been in his pod and just going after
Yeah.
the armor. That looked
Did you teach
way
him that?
too much like
Nope,
comedic
not me.
relief.
Yeah.
I didn't like the jumping around thing because again, I took it as we've seen Luke having to use the Force to make Grogu catch up to him.
Yeah.
So, if Grogu could have done that before, why not do it now? It's like it's that weird sort of fine line for me of this is what we've already had, this is what we're getting now. How do we make it sort of make sense? And I know that it is the looking up to Din for approval and for the go ahead to be able to do what he wants to do, but at the same time it just felt like it felt cheesy. Yeah, I'll agree with that, much to Fluffy's disapproval.
And we're gonna get the Teen Groot version of Grogu soon too, which is kind of funny from the rebellious stage. So Din's giving him too much freedom at this point.
See,
Okay, maybe I am too emotional about all of this. I'm gonna leave you guys too.
No, it's fine. Like I like having the different perspectives on these things because every fan sees things differently. And
yeah, for me, it's like super cute and super nice of him, and he doesn't just. I mean, let's look at everyone else. Like, I am sure, I'm 99% sure Anakin dominated his fellow younglings. And Grogu is the one who's like, should I, like, I know I'm strong enough. Should I do it? And that is so cute and shows so much empathy and so much emotion. I don't know. It's just my emotional point of view.
Grogu's growing up. He's caring about other people's feelings, even if they're 5 times his size.
Maybe it's just me.
I mean,
no. I mean, you're not wrong.
The Anakin dominating the other younglings, you can see happen because Anakin was so much older than them when he joined the Jedi. Grogu,
and even in the comics, Anakin was made. Even in the comics, Anakin was made fun of, so that pushed Anakin even further to dominate them because he had to catch up to them because he was older and they're trained a lot faster than him. And Grogu's kind of in the same spot. Like Grogu was in the temple, yes, but he's also probably not been training for like 20 years while the Empire ruled. And so he's got to play catch up again. And that's why we got 2 episodes of him training in well, maybe not 2 episodes, but 1 episode in the Book of Boba of him training with Luke to kind of show that, okay, he's starting to remember. And I think that's what the flashback kind of was, is something inside him was awakening. So he's starting to remember things now. And so, like we saw with Obi-Wan in the Kenobi show, Obi-Wan didn't use the Force or anything. And he had to reconnect to it. And so I think that's kind of what happened with Grogu in this episode, is the pounding just kind of unlocked memories that he suppressed. And he might be reconnecting to the Force at this point.
It's like a form of PTSD for Grogu. And
yeah,
when you think of that side of things, I really enjoyed it. I still don't think it should have been in this episode as much, with the whole flashback. I think that could have done with its own full episode, 45-minute episode of maybe Grogu awakening his powers again properly. Yes, he's trained with Luke, but this, hearing the banging, kicked back in for him. And it was good to see, just to make sure that Fluffy doesn't hate me completely. but but at the same time, like I say, I genuinely don't think that it had a place in this episode. I think more of the Bo-Katan leading the way in this episode would have been that could have been a full episode by itself without the B story, because Bo-Katan, her basically becoming that leader is where this episode was heading.
And learning more about the creeds, because, well, they're sitting at the fire, and I found this very interesting. She's like, okay, well, what do you guys do to eat? And like, oh, we can't take our helmets in front of each other. That's still breaking the creed. So
Also,
we got to go off on our own and eat alone.
Definitely.
Which is so sad.
That they left Bo in front of the fire is actually symbolically very important, because she is the most important, and she gets to keep the seat that is under the light and in front of the fire. So, I mean, it is sad, and I have so many questions, especially how Ragnar came to be. These are like, how does that whole situation work, as a question? But
everything but the helmet.
Exactly. I just okay. Yeah. Yeah. It is just symbolically very important that they gave Bo the seat in front of the fire. I think that was very important and good for us to see, because she's gonna,
foreshadowing.
Exactly.
Yeah, because so far I feel like this whole season is just a build-up for Bo-Katan and her character development to be where she needs to be later on in the season. Because she was first introduced in second season, and she wanted the Darksaber from Moff Gideon so she can basically rule Mandalore and have her people follow her. And so that kind of filled epically for her at the end of last season because of Din Djarin. And so this is kind of, it's like, okay, well, your dream is not lost. You have these people who are taking you in, and now you're showing leadership in this. Especially next episode, it's going to be very crucial for her role and how she's seen, because she's able to keep the creed while keeping her traditions as well. And like I said, like, these 4 episodes were kind of like a little off, but once you get into the next episode, it's like, oh, okay, this is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, these, like you say, these episodes, for the most part, felt very filler-esque. The last one was an inclusion that wasn't needed. The B story for this, the Grogu flashback, kind of felt like they had a specific episode time to hit, and they didn't want to add any more Bo-Katan stuff. So they're like, "What can we do? Let's add a bit of Grogu's backstory." I think we could have had a bit more of Grogu's backstory back in season 1 or 2, but we're 3 seasons deep now, and we're halfway through ish the season. Like, why now are we getting this? And the whole Bo-Katan becoming the leader, or looking that way, as I said sort of last episode, is very reminiscent of, let's not mention Lord of the Rings, but Lord of the Rings, with with Aragorn. He's the reluctant leader, and you can see Bo-Katan is very much portrayed in that same sort of way now, where she is the rightful heir to Mandalore. It's just she kind of wants to, but kind of is hesitant as well, because she's got to reunite all of these people under one person. So it's very there are parallels.
I think I'm gonna cry. I want an entire episode of the myth of the Chosen One, and we talk about all the parallels between Frodo and Anakin and everyone. I'm okay. Yeah. Please, let's
Hey,
move on.
I'll put that on the idea list.
Please do. You're so right about that. I mean, bringing everyone under one banner. Yeah.
Because I don't even think she was intending to bring these people under her, but
No, but when she's
it just
asking
happens.
for a mythosaur and the night owl,
Which I thought was really cool. That also, again, symbolism and foreshadowing, which, again, we kind of expected. And am I the only one that thought it was funny that the armor was treating Bo-Katan like she was like some child with that is seeing ghosts in the corner? So she's like, "I saw a mythosaur. Yeah, sure you did. Yeah, sure you did.
Yeah.
When you walk the path, you'll see many things."
It's like, yeah.
You ever see that meme with the granddaughter walking her grandma, and the grandma's like looking up and it's like, "Oh yeah, back in my day we used to have telephones or something," and then the daughter's like, "Yeah, sure, grandma. Sure, grandma." Like, seems like old and demented or whatnot, and that's kind of how I felt Bo-Katan was being treated. It's like Bo-Katan's like, "Oh, I saw a mythosaur. Yeah, sure you did. Sure you did."
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really funny.
I mean, she thought, "Oh, you're gonna see visions and so on." And I mean, to be fair, none of us expected to actually see the mythosaur on screen. So the fact that we actually got that, and Bo-Katan managed, and in that happening at the exact same time that our Mando lost consciousness, so Bo was the only single person who actually saw the mythosaur live. I cannot fault the armor on that one. I cannot. Even though that was a bit, I don't know, shady of her.
If we were recording this when it first came out, without the other episodes coming out, I'd be saying that the mythosaur was going to be a big part of the season. But because that's what it felt like it was building up to. But that's the only time we see the mythosaur this season. So I don't know if they're going to do anything in future seasons with it. But
spoiler alert for that.
Yeah, don't want to get your guys' hopes up if you haven't watched the whole season. But just so you're not disappointed later, no more mythosaur. Just talked about. But I did like that she went with both the night owl and the mythosaur symbol on her armor.
Yeah, and that's where the cultures are now becoming one. That's where the one banner comes into play, where it is you've got the multiple sects of the different Mandalorians, and now you've got the one leader. the one person that's going to be taking them into the future, the one person to rebuild everything, to rebuild the society.
And then they get wiped out again because we don't see them ever again. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Poor Fluffy.
I cannot. No.
She can't deal with our jokes
My
tonight, I
emotions
guess.
are too high. At this point, I cannot handle this. Sam, go ahead.
So, episode was directed by Carl Weathers, who passed away not that long ago. But it's great to see an actor in the show direct the show, and it kind of shows that level of love as well for the project that you're working on.
And he hated it so much.
And I didn't hate it in the sense of, it's not like I hated it. It's more that I hated how it flowed from, you had the A story that suddenly stopped dead, and that's not a choice of Carl Weathers. I can't see him saying, let's stop this now. It's all down to how the script was written. And if the script said that, then that's what the director's got to go with as well. It was a good episode. Yeah. The individual parts of the episode were good. I'm just going to throw that one out there now, just to clarify.
But as a whole, it didn't flow properly.
It didn't flow, and it wasn't the best episode. Much better than the last one, though. I will say that.
Yeah, the last one was very random.
Yeah.
And I think it was just there just to kind of show Gideon was no longer where he should be. And he's roaming the galaxy again. So I think that was like the only point of that episode. But it took a whole hour for them to do it.
Yeah.
It's like you guys, you don't even want to watch this anymore. You're like, I'm being forced to do this. Ew.
I'm not gonna lie, season 3 was probably the weakest of all the Mando seasons. But it had a lot of fun moments though. Like I'm not hating on the episodes or anything. I'm enjoying watching these again.
Yeah.
I'm thoroughly disappointed. Yes.
Well, to back up, sorry, Fluffy. To back up what Fluffy said though, at the towards the beginning of this episode of Complete Randomness, the latter part of the season is so much better. I kind of think if we had had the amalgamation of the second half of Book of Boba Fett and the second half of this season, we would have got one complete awesome season. Right now, to back up, everything else is you at first watch and then a second watch, knowing what's already happened, it feels like you have to kind of force yourself to watch the first half of this season to then get to the good stuff.
For me, it's like Rogue One. It's like forcing yourself to watch the entire movie just to get to the Vader scene.
This is your take on Rogue One?
Is that where Vader, mass murders everybody? Because I'm down for that.
Yes. The last 30 minutes of Rogue One I thought was great, but my buddy Brecken hates me for it. He thinks Rogue One is like the best movie, and I know a lot of fans do, but Rogue One was just
way too bad. Nope.
Rogue One was slow for me, but when we get to the movie review of that, we'll get more into that.
Yeah.
I don't want fans hating me too much right now. I do love Star Wars, guys. I really do.
No.
So do I. I promise.
No.
But I mean, it was a fun episode. I enjoyed it for seeing all the different training and kind of seeing Bo-Katan kind of gain the respect that she needs to further the rest of the season. But I do think that they should have expedited the uniting of the two groups a lot quicker.
I definitely agree with you on that, but I also think about what Sam is saying about the Book of Boba Fett and everything. If they somehow amalgamated those two, I think we would have been at this moment complaining about how everything was rushed. I think they served the fandom as much as they could at this point. I have to empathize and see it for what it is, because we have received 9 movies over 50 years now. And yeah, it's
Technically,
just,
11 movies.
that's true. Solo and Rogue
This-
One.
Yeah.
And with the live action, I think getting a bit more into detail about some individual characters, especially people like Bo-Katan, I think even though at some point we're thinking like, what is the point of this entire episode? Why are we here? Why are we watching this? It's still, I think, the best that
Those are good
we-
questions.
Yeah. I think this is still very good for us fans. And it answers a lot of questions, and it gives us a lot of leeway and information and entertainment in a very short amount of time. I have to unfortunately be on the side of the makers, producers, people who work for us, and say things like this because, I mean, come on.
No,
Because
like
I'm sat here ruining it. No, I
Yep.
do completely agree. You know, we are.
it's a lot of work to do all that.
Yeah. It's. I'm not knocking. The writers, the creators. That's not the thing. For me, it was just. It's my personal opinion that I didn't like how the story flowed in this one, and
It's a good story,
good.
but
Yeah,
the flow was off.
we had 2 really good stories, and I'll as much as I bash having the 2 different stories.
So this is what Sam is saying: is he wanted both stories to be their own episode because he wanted to see more of it.
Yes,
Definitely.
Yeah.
I
It's-
agree with that.
Yeah, it's not that I hated the stories. The stories were great. I don't think we had enough of either. There was more to be said for both sides, and they could have been 2 episodes, an episode of each story instead of combining the 2.
I definitely agree with you on that. The content was there, the execution was poor.
Yeah.
Definitely. 100%.
And I just got one question for you guys, and it's probably like a little game that from the rest of this season you can play. Is that Pedro Pascal under that armor, or is it his stunt double?
I have way too much alcohol to be talking about Pedro Pascal. No.
Well,
Sam?
wasn't
This
it
is
more
all you.
wasn't it more his stunt double in the entire season for this? Because
Yeah, he did most of the voiceover.
Yeah, because he was doing other projects at the same
The Last
time.
of Us.
Last of Us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I make the joke. Is like every time I watch, I'm like, is that Pedro Pascal there, or is it somebody else?
I enjoyed imagining it was him. That's what I can say.
Well, that's the thing. Stunt double or not, the character is believable either way.
Yeah.
So, I'm
Very
looking
much so.
at this as it's that I'm thinking like the Mandalorian is a real person.
Mm-hmm.
He might have the same faces as Pedro, but he is a real person. And
Hey,
no
as
matter-
long as we got the voice and we imagine that Pedro under like with the face, then they executed that very well.
Yeah, and I mean for me as well, like to find the stunt double able to act in the same way that Pedro would be acting if he was wearing the armor is that's why I like the mystery of it. We don't know who's wearing that suit at the time, but it blurs into one, which makes it one character.
Yeah.
This is going to be a very, straight question. I don't even actually know how much of it was Pedro and how much of it was someone else during the first 2 seasons. Do you guys know?
I know first season, I think it was 30% of the time he was in it.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
in my opinion, at this point, it's just I imagine it as Pedro Pascal doing the voiceovers, and it's someone else in the costume the whole time.
Kind of similar to the Darth Vader thing, where it's, you know, you had one actor wearing the
Yeah.
suit, and
James Earl Jones doing the
Yeah.
voiceover. Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought too. That's
Well, I just looked it up. It said the first 2 seasons, Pascal would be on set as often as he could be. So
and what does that
that,
mean?
because he was in.
but they said that's no longer the case though, with Pascal now mostly absent.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
he's mostly just doing the voiceover. I mean, it's the same thing with Darth Vader, because we had David Prowse wearing the suit pretty much
Yeah.
in all 3 movies, and then you get James Earl Jones doing the voiceover. So I mean, this isn't something new to Star Wars, and it's cool that we can have someone be Mando on screen, and then we just hear Pedro.
Did you guys know that James Earl Jones basically stopped doing Darth Vader and sold all of his rights so that it could be done by
Mhm.
AI
AI.
and everything for the rest of his or the rest of the Darth Vader?
Yeah, so they can keep Darth Vader
Yeah.
a constant character.
Yeah.
That was so strange to me.
It's just like Carrie Fisher did the same thing with her likeness.
Okay.
So she gave the rights for AI and all that stuff and CGI and stuff to bring her back on screen. It's probably gonna be hard for her family, but if that ever happens. But
I read Carrie Fisher's both biographies recently, and it's just
I need to
oof.
read those.
They're funny,
I
especially if you read if you listen to the audiobooks by her voice,
I
you
was gonna
feel
say
a
I'd only
bit
listen
better.
to it if she was
Yeah,
voicing it.
yeah. It feels a bit better, but it is still an extremely dark story of a
Oh yeah,
person.
Yeah.
yeah.
She did a Comic Con over here, years before the sequel movies came out, and I think I was 14 or 15, and I was like, I'm going to get her autograph. I have to. Hands down, one of the nicest people I've ever met. You know, she was there. She was talking to everybody that was waiting to see. It wasn't like, you know, signing and going. She was taking the time for the fans, and you know, she was putting, you know, hugging people, you know, seeing if they wanted photos with her, and I mean, it's a shame that she did pass away, and how she passed away as well was just tragic. But
Yeah.
you know, we've got Leia. She will always be.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, Leia will always be the most badass female character on screen.
Yeah, yeah,
Like Fluffy and I talked about this on one of the recent podcasts that we're talking about, like all the strong female leads, and how Carrie Fisher was probably like the top one.
yeah,
She is, and she will be forever because, I mean, when I think about other characters in visual media, at least, when I think about, for example, Lord of the Rings, we talked about Lord of the Rings a lot today, and Arwen is nothing in the books. Arwen
Yeah.
is basically a lady who is sitting at home doing her embroidery and waiting for Aragorn to come back.
yeah,
Yeah.
So when you talk about Carrie Fisher, when you talk about Princess Leia, we're talking about the OG women female hero. That's it. Everyone else just follows after.
She set the
Even
bar.
Eowyn.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, oh, love, but
Yeah.
come on. Come on.
Yeah.
You don't go after another man's another woman's man. You don't do that. No.
Hey, she found Faramir, so she's
yeah.
good.
That is also one of the sweetest stories ever. But okay, I guess we will have a Lord of the Rings conversation at one point in in
I
time.
hope we do. I hope we do.
I think we should schedule something just to talk about Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
It doesn't even have to be a podcast. We'll
Did you guys
just
read
call the
it
talk.
or just watched?
I've read the books so many times. I've read the Silmarillion,
Yeah.
Baron and Luthien, all of it.
It's a yearly read for me.
Same.
Oh my god! Yes, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the constellation I should be in at all times. Thank you. All right, we can move on. Star Wars, Carrie Fisher, yes.
Yes. Yeah, Carrie Fisher definitely set the bar as, really the first female lead that didn't need to be saved. She could save herself.
Yes, for sure.
She took that gun to, blow the hole to get into the trash compactor.
What are you waiting for, Flyboy?
Yeah.
Jump down. I'll shoot them. I'll hold them up. Just jump down. I'll go down last.
Yeah, she was the first real female hero that could defend herself. She knew what she was doing. And
She was a Skywalker.
She was not a damsel in distress.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just the situation made it look that way, but she's like, oh, all you gotta do is open the door. I got it from here.
I mean, the metal bikini did not help. But
I think it did.
oh my god. Gentlemen, no. The metal bikini did not help. We need weapons and stuff. You don't hide it in a metal bikini.
It's the scar.
That metal bikini showed that she took down Jabba without a single weapon. She used a chain to choke him.
Mm-hmm.
That metal bikini showed that she didn't even need weapons. She's badass by herself. She's
like, it doesn't matter what I'm wearing. I'm just badass.
This close to believing you, but I'm not.
Wow.
So, really good episode, and we're looking forward to discussing the rest of the season, because the rest of the season is going to be full of really cool things, especially the final episode. But before we go, guys, just remember to jump down into the description below to check out our link tree. You can find our Discord and our Instagram page where you can follow us and join a great community of Star Wars fans. Also, we got some merch down below with entertainmentearth.com, where we have a bunch of Black Series and other cool collectibles. And if you like t-shirts, check out our Teespring. We got some cool designs that we did on our own that you guys will like. So we will see you guys next week. May the Force
be with you.
Always.